What's up, YouTube? Last weekend I went down to CMP to apply everything I went over in my last data video. It paid off. I managed a new PB of 144.242 on my SV, and there's still more in the tank. First, I'll narrate the onboard of that lap, and then we'll look at exactly where I found the time over my previous best of a 145.883, as well as where I plan to improve the next time I go down there. Please like, subscribe, and follow my Insta if you want to see more of content like this. Coming down the straight, my main focus was getting more braking done while the bike was straight up and down so I could get to my slowest point earlier to set up a better 1 through 3. This is a slight improvement, but I'd still like to get slowed a touch sooner. I also wanted a better setup into 3, which I managed. As you can see, I started accelerating right before the apex instead of after it. My next vital point was turn 7. To get the bike pointed as early as possible for the exit, I rolled off completely right before 6 while still leaned over to tighten my line, and from there I could start accelerating earlier, down the preceding straightaway. Going into 8, I wanted to get the bike turned and pointed as early as I could to start feeding in throttle right before the apex, which netted me a ton of time. For the kink, I wanted the bike to settle on the side of the tire, so I was driving past the apex instead of waiting until after it. I also stopped grabbing that extra backshift later in the day, which helped my minimum speed in the kink. For turn 11, the plan was to brake right at the 3 board with as much brake pressure as I was comfortable with. I ran a little too deep, but I was able to salvage it and still get a good run into 12. Into 12, I want to roll speed in and managed to get it pointed on time to start feeding in throttle. From there, it was a balance of managing rear grip while the bike was simultaneously accelerating and still turning. Turn 14 was the exact same strategy as 1, 8, and 11. Heavy braking straight up and down to get an earlier exit and maximize the straightaway. And across the finish line for a 144.242. Now let's jump into the data real quick to put into perspective where that 1.6 seconds came from. After that, I'll show you the plan of what I'll do the next time I'm at CMP to find even more time by comparing myself to a pro running a 140 on an RS660. This is my AIM Solo 2 data in Race Studio 3. The blue line represents my previous best of 145.88, and the red line is my 144.2. This graph shows speed, this is braking g-forces, and this bottom one is the absolute value of my lean angle, so it's always positive. The very bottom box shows time gained or lost. I split the track into segments that I think flow well together, which are 1 through 5, 5 through 8, 8 through 11, 11 through 14, and 14 back to 1. My main goal was more braking straight up and down to get earlier slow points and therefore better drive down the vital straights. I managed to execute this in 3, 7, 8, 12, and 14, which is why my speed down each subsequent straightaway is higher. Looking at the time delta from the apex of 1 to the apex of 5, I gained 0.3 seconds. From 5 to 8, I picked up another 0.25 seconds. From 8 to 11, another 0.2, then a massive 0.5 seconds from 11 to 14, and a final 0.35 seconds from 14 to the finish line. Overall, I'm very happy with this progress, but I know there's still more time on the table. Now let's compare this to my pro friend running a 140.4 on his RS660. The channels are exactly the same, but now my 144.2 is the blue line and his 140.4 is the red line. I always make the reference rider red. At first glance, my slow points are much more in line with the reference rider now. In some places, they're actually a bit too early, which is a much better problem to have than being too late at a track like CMP. Let's see where I'm losing the biggest chunks of time. From the apex of 1 to the apex of 5, I'm losing 1.25 seconds. I lose 0.55 seconds from 5 to 8, a full second from 8 to 11, 0.4 from 11 to 14, and another 0.4 from 14 to 1. In order of importance, I'm going to focus heavily on clawing back some of that 1.25 seconds in the segment from 1 to 5. Next, I'll target the full second I'm losing from 8 to 11. And lastly, the 0.55 seconds from 5 to 8, because that should be fairly easy to clean up. From 1 to 5, most of that time comes from a delayed and overslowed entry into 3, and it actually starts back at turn 1. By not slowing down enough into 1, my acceleration is delayed, which pushes me wide through 1 and 2, and chokes off my entry into 3. To fix this, I need to do more braking and turning before the apex of 1, to allow for earlier transitions. If I can combine that with the rolling speed I carried into 4 and 5 later in the day, that should net me about half a second. Some of the whole second I'm losing between 8 and 11 can be recovered by skipping that backshift into the kink and just letting the bike roll. An earlier tip into 8 should also help carry more corner speed so I can accelerate from a higher minimum speed, which will give me more speed all the way to the kink. The final area for improvement I'll focus on is the 0.55 seconds from 5 to 8. My exit out of 5, 6, and 7 is solid for now, but I'd like to push my brake markers about 20 to 40 feet deeper going into 8. This will probably only net me about a tenth or two, but it's easy time to get back while the bike is straight up and down. That's all for this video, but thanks for watching all the way through. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below about what you're currently working on at your local track.